we are celebrating our 75th year of independence. I'm sure all the flights or any transportation you've taken have reminded you of that. And there's quite a lot of achievements we have of note after 75 years. But I think to become the global leader that we can be, we have to start focusing much more on research and development, right? Fundamental research and development beyond just what we've been doing so far. And the government has really worked on a lot of these setups. There are lots of policy initiatives to promote R&D and innovation. There is Make in India, and then there is to promote local manufacturing and innovation. There's the creation of a national research fund. There's honoring of researchers through Rashtriya Vigyan Puraskar. So there's a lot of things that the government is doing, but if you look at overall spending, we're still way short. Okay, so if you look at R&D spend as a percentage of GDP, we're only like 0.7%. We spend around 5,000 crores in research and development, way short of what is required. Okay, now what is needed is essentially for industry and other players to start pitching in, right? So government is just one part of this whole puzzle, right? They can help stimulate, but we cannot expect government to be doing all. Right? They can help us and seed us, push us there, but we need to start industry and other players to start pitching in. And for industry and other players to pitch in, the objectives are very different, right? Industries will be incentivized to do research and development and work on more innovative ideas if it is a sustainable idea, right? So they are looking at sustainability marketplaces and everything else. And I think that is where industry academia collaborations make sense. Now, if you look at most of the countries which are doing well on this scale, you'll find a very robust industry academic collaborations, right? It's not just industry doing research, it's not academics doing research, it's both. Now, of course, when most people talk about R&D, it's usually with the core disciplines, right? And they're thinking about, let's say, computer science or going to the IITs and everything. So where does management research fit in? And the way to think about this is there's a nice set of papers by Bloom and colleagues who have launched a lot of surveys on the World Management Survey, which looks essentially at management practices followed by countries around the world, and have related that to productivity and innovation. And the finding is very clear. It is that the more management research or more management processes you apply, the more productive you are, the more efficient you are, the better innovations come out, right? So if you're thinking about value of business research as opposed to just core research, there is a space for that, but there is a clear value for management research. It helps you streamline your process, it helps you make better judgment calls, become more productive, and of course more innovative as such. And I think that is where this session is grounded in, right? So it's very clear that industry academic collaboration needs to happen. And the topic that we have chosen, which is on business analytics, is a place where that can definitely lead to enormous efficiency gains. Okay, we are at the cusp of what is supposedly groundbreaking, transformational work in these areas, right? So a lot of these general purpose technologies that have emerged can help us transcend our existing challenges with infrastructure and everything else. And this is also a place where business is important. It's a place where grounded research or basic research is important. And this is where government support is also important. And so if you think about all these setups, I think business analytics is the place where we can illustrate how this can happen. And that's essentially what we have here. And we have a great set of panelists who can talk about what is going on here. Right, so that's essentially my bit. So let me start off by throwing a full toss. Okay, so this is the obvious question to ask, which is to the panelists is, how has business analytics played a role in your industry in the first place, right? So let's start with just setting the ground rules, saying how has it made an impact, and then we can talk about what industry academia can do. So should we start with Shirish? He's the hottest. He's part of the hottest news topic,
but also the most modest. We are a fledgling network, so we don't have that much history of data to speak of. But yes, it's the lifeblood of figuring out what you need to fix. So the first set of things that we looked at ONDC was actually the operational metrics. So because we're starting an unbundled way of doing commerce, a network way of doing commerce, so different parties are on different applications. So is this interoperability actually working? And so what is the combination of orders flowing through between various pairs of participants and looking at the fill rates, looking at the timing of delivery. And so tracking the operational metrics was sort of the first set of data that we looked at. As the network has grown, so we opened to the public last year, and now we're clocking about 2 lakh orders a day. So now we're looking at which segments in which cities, and how do we grow a particular segment or a particular city or a particular combination. So that's the new set of things we're looking at. But you cannot choose where to focus if you don't have the analytics, because they help identify where the big lever points are, what are the underpinning factors, and then you can take that combination and then bring management attention to that. So it's as fundamental as that.
It's almost becoming like you can't live without it anymore, right?
Correct.
So, Ishu, your perspective or your take on that?
So, Swiggy being a little more mature in all of this, I think now analytics is playing part of a growth lever. So what I just want to build on what Shirish said, right? That what needs to be fixed, right? So for that, we start from what needs to flow through our data systems, right? So a part of business analytics is how will I measure performance if I don't have the right data flowing in through my metrics, through my engineering systems. So we start from there. Every project starts with that this is the data which needs to flow. This is how we will measure our performance. This is how we will automate our reports, business reviews. That is the BAU part of doing analytics at Swiggy. But then as part of the growth lever, right? So whatever roadmaps we prepare for a year, right? It always starts with, is it worth doing it, right? So we start with, okay, what does it mean? How much additional business it will bring to us at what cost? And that is when the decisions are made, features are launched and analyzed. Just an anecdote, for example, one of our most successful programs, which is Swiggy One, where we offer free deliveries. We exactly know every week what do we project, why did we get what we got, at what cost, was it above or below our projection, why it happened, what it happened, and what went wrong, right? So that is a weekly process. And if we said that we'll break even at a certain month, we did break even at that month. So it's analytics at every step that way. So it is integrated, if I can say so.
Okay. So just to push you more on that, right? So what is the advantage of having such precise data and everything else, right? What do you gain from it from a business sense, right? Because these are larger implications than just saying, precisely I know what is going on. That is good, but how does that precision help?
It helps because over time, then you know what bets you need to take. How good are you at measuring and your own systems, measuring your own operations, where are the lacuna or where are we not able to predict well. I mean, we can never be very, very precise, right? I mean, there's something which will go wrong, but we know, okay, these are the areas where we can take bets because we are confident of our GTMs, go-to-market strategies. But there are areas where it doesn't work. Every week, we are not meeting. So we know that our operations are not working as well as we thought, or our projections are not working with only the data which came up to us. So then we go and fix our GTM there.
Thanks. Swati? Yeah, same question.
Sure. So I represent EXL. So EXL provides analytics services to different companies. So the importance of analytics for us is it is our bread and butter. And I'll say that I'm so fascinated about the importance that everybody is sort of giving to data and analytics, that as a leader in the industry and in the company, we often talk to people and also for growing our own business. So we would have approached like hundreds of companies over the course of this year just to grow our business, and I'm very glad to say that almost everyone decided to come on a call with us. It is quite unbelievable, but I have the number like 130 meetings. We had selected that, okay, with these 130 companies, we'll proactively reach out and do meetings. And all 130 of them accepted, and we actually went for meetings. And this is personally myself I'm talking about, that which the meetings that I led. So that shows the importance of analytics that everybody's paying. And then analytics also, as Ishu also pointed out, again, broadly we divide into three spectrum. One is putting the data infra ready, which is having the proper data marts, data warehouse built, so that all of the data is put together and the downstream analysis is done effectively once we have the single source of truth. So that is the data part. Then in terms of the downstream analysis, this is about helping the decision makers take quick decisions through reports, visualization, business intelligence, etc. that come along. And then there is advanced analytics, where there are predictive models or prescriptive models. So all of these, depending on the stage of the company, the companies basically want to adopt at least one of the areas of analytics and move forward. The companies which are a little big and they want to set up their data infra properly and approach it in a systematic fashion, begin with the data part. Otherwise, the others are okay with the ad hoc analysis, but almost everybody is experimenting with data. And we have seen huge returns in terms of either spend leakages being curbed, revenues being enhanced, customer experiencing becoming better, efficiencies, cost reductions through automations, etc. So, this is one area.
Yeah, so we are seeing first order impact in terms of revenues, in terms of reduction in costs. And so, if you think about direct impact of efficiency or productivity gains, we're already seeing that in business. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what about you, Karthik, from Jumbotail, your perspectives on how I think it is working.
It works. Hello? Okay, great. So I'm co-founder and CEO of Jumbotail. We are India's leading B2B e-commerce marketplace and new retail platform. We are leading the transformation of the whole food and grocery value chain by modernizing and digitizing the Kirana stores. So I'll start at a little higher plane than some of my fellow speakers. We are transforming lives. We are preserving community bonds. We are driving inclusive growth, and we use data for that. Say from a starting point of all of us, right? I think the starting point of Professor Madhu's this thing is India is growing and India is not spending enough, right? If you actually look at the growth, taking India to $10 trillion economy, that is one part, but what is driving it? 50% of our population is less than 25 years of age, over 600 million people. This Gen Z, they want a wider variety of products that suits their ambitious lifestyle. They want digital integration in their shopping experiences. They want higher convenience, which are increasingly offered by big box retail and quick commerce. But if you look at the traditional Kirana ecosystem, who's driving and who are currently the economic engines of our country, 95% of the current market is being served by them, but they have these counter stores, they face stockouts, they don't have robust supply chains, they don't have access to credit. And what is at stake is the lives of these 13 million Kirana stores. 13 million is more than population of many, many countries across the world. And over last 60, 70 years, right, societies have transformed and developed. But often it has come in the cost of local communities. They either got displaced, replaced, corporatized. But we have a different vision for India. In our vision, development need not displace. It can empower and transform. And we are leading India's Kirana transformation. We are serving over 300,000 Kirana stores today, and we are providing them with a wide access of products so that they can keep their stocks intact in their shelves. They don't have to wait for a distributor salesman to show up, or they have to go to main mandi. You would have seen many people using a small TVS 50, overloaded, transportation. Many women run the store. They can't do all of these things. They have no access to credit. They have no technology. We transform them into modern convenience stores, provide them with omni-channel technologies. Now, why am I giving this background is, we can't transform this entire Kirana store ecosystem without AI and data, because some of you probably are students and some of you are from industries, right? Let's take a typical job in a big box retail or e-commerce company, category management. I'm pretty sure many of us in Swiggy also will have category management. Some of the customers of EX will have category management, right? A category manager's job is to look at a bunch of products within his portfolio, and when a company is at a certain scale, they can come to ISB, they can hire the people, they can afford to pay the salaries, because that person's economies of scale, he will be able to influence the decision of probably $1 billion of sales. A Kirana store cannot do that today. Let's say he has a point of sale. First of all, there is no point of sale. Let's say he has a point of sale today. Who is going to be his category manager? Now, 80% of the category manager's job is data extraction, manipulation, transformation, and simple insights. That can be powered by AI. So, what AI is going to achieve transformatively is going to be able to use platforms like ours, the data that we generate over 50 to 100 million data points almost every day. Now, put that to good use and become that assistant for the mom and pop Kirana store, so that he can keep his right selection, he can do the digital way of things, he can get access to credit, and his family, his job, his livelihood is preserved. And we can become that $10 trillion economy without losing this population. And we are putting data to that use. So, all of these things, whatever has been described, is equally applicable to us. So, we also have dashboards, we will have real-time data, algorithms, this and all. But I just want to anchor the thought process of this audience as to what can you do with data. You can transform lives. You can give healthcare to people who would have not got healthcare at all. Now with ChatGPT kind of things coming up. So anchor it from country and work backwards, and you will have a much wider scope of understanding what data can do. And now you can't do that with people, and that is where the academia comes in, because there is so much to do. There is so much to do. We can't do, the amount of data that is getting generated cannot possibly be understood by a few data science people in my company. It has to be accelerated, it has to be proliferated. Many people needs to come in, and that's why I'm excited about this conference.
Thanks, Karthik. So let me actually ask Pranav a different riff of the same thing. Like, we will build on what Karthik is saying and ask, like, so where are the opportunities for firms and the nation as a whole in this space?
Sure. Thank you, Madhu, and thank you everybody for coming here. Thank you, Karthik, for throwing the baton to me and emphasizing the role of analytics. So I won't harp on that piece, but where I'll come in is, where do academics come in, right? So we have access to a lot of data, and Shirish over here, Ishu, Swati, and Karthik talked about what they do with the data in their own firms, for instance. Now, academics, our charter is to utilize data, marry them with economic, psychological, marketing theories of how people behave, and generate insights in an unbiased way. And what do I mean by unbiased? My job is not to cater to a Swiggy or cater to Jumbotail or cater to EXL. My job is to cater to the economy at large. My job is to cater to the individual consumers. Now, what that means is I could work with them, generate insights. These insights could be at a very micro level about saying what works, what does not work. But then firms are already doing that. I take it upon me to say that our job as academics is to go one step further and play towards transforming lives. And I will give you a couple of examples, the kind of conversations we were having over lunch. So for example, Swiggy empowers people. It generates livelihood for a lot of people who otherwise may not have jobs. There can be some concerns about does it contribute to the carbon footprint because there is a lot more traffic on the road. Now, yes, that is the case, but a conversation around that has to be traded off against the convenience that it provides to consumers like you and me. That requires a systematic study of what we are doing as consumers, how we are benefiting from Swiggy, and the flip side, which is the costs associated with it. Again, bringing it back to Jumbotail, when we talk about empowering people over here, yes, Jumbotail is empowering Kirana stores, but then there is a need to understand, are there any unintended consequences of the policies that Jumbotail has? Or is Jumbotail able to reach out to the minority group in our community? Is Jumbotail able to empower women more than men? Is Jumbotail reaching out to the backward classes? All of these are policy issues which are important to understand. We can do it only through data. Now, as an academic, I generate zero data, right? I don't have any data, but we bank on partnerships with companies where they generate data. We can work with them to answer these big picture questions, to understand what practices are sustainable and how can we make our lives better. And when I say our, it is not academics or industry, it is all of you.
Yeah, thanks, Pranav. It's always good to have an academic on the panel. Makes my job a lot easier. Now, I want to go back to Shirish. After this, I will stop doing this roundabout thing. But the reason why Shirish is because he's part of this very exciting digital public infrastructure project that India has embarked on, right? And I think the underpinning of that is digital transformation in all manners will help us scale new heights, right? And so, because you're very much part of this ecosystem, can you talk a little bit more about the opportunities you see for us here, like with ONDC itself, right? The transformation it can bring about and the vision that you have there.
So the simple way of stating that vision is really e-commerce today is about 6 to 7% of the economy. And so how do we bring the digital capability and prowess to the balance 93%? That's the simple requirement. And given that most of it, the gap is actually on the seller side. So there's less than 1% of the seller. And by seller, I mean a broad understanding of the term. So it's not just factories, it's not just retailers, but it's also a craftsman, it's also a farmer. Anybody who's producing anything, product or service that can be sold is a creator. And enabling them to join a network where any customer of that product or service can discover them, that's really the task that we set about. What UPI is to payments today, we hope ONDC will become to commerce and not restricted within the country. We are already B2C and B2B, and we're also cross-border. So international transactions have also begun. So they should also enable Indian exporters to also export to their customers who are outside. Now, that's a very wide swath of commercial activity, and it covers every possible use case. So let's say if we're talking about clothes, it's also ready-made clothes, it's also tailored clothes, it's also customized clothes. So it isn't just one kind of product or one kind of service even within a field. Right? So if anything has a buyer and a seller and a description, that can potentially be an item that can come on ONDC. That's really the vision. With that then comes a long chain of activities that have to be done, which is crafting these use cases, converting them to a technical spec, enabling those technical specs, going to the sector and ecosystem, and then bringing the partnerships from there onto the network.
No, I think if we were to combine your answers and Karthik's and everybody else's who's talking here, it's essentially saying, look, we know that we have gaps in where we are. And, we have strengths in areas as well. Like if you think about the intellectual manpower we have and technology backing, I think we are very good on those things. And this is essentially saying, can we marry these two together to bring about the change or the aspirations that we have for our country? So I'm going to switch a little bit on the aspirational part to coming to more ground reality on academic collaboration and industry academia working together. So your thoughts, and I think Karthik touched upon that a little bit, is like what are the opportunities that you think we would get from such collaborations? So we can start with Shirish and then we can have others.
So we are charting a course that's never been traversed before. E-commerce has never been done in an open network way. It has always been done as a closed platform way. So having fresh pair of eyes, look at opportunities will always help, from academia, from business, and certainly from our team. Second is the opportunity to model different things. So when we look at data, we will start with the business hypothesis. Is the sector growing? Is the geography growing? And we'll start examining that. You might have a different starting point, and you might look at cross-category information or cross-geography information, and you will uncover different patterns. And so the opportunity for taking that same information and discovering new insights, which then can become useful to different parts of the economy. It could be to a business, it could be to a service provider, it could be to participants. To that end, what we also intend to do is, so ONDC does not want to keep data for a variety of reasons, but what we do want to facilitate is aggregated, anonymized data across the network made available to everyone. So for somebody to know, okay, how much is food business doing in Kolkata, or how much is apparel growing in Bangalore, just the totality of it will allow people to know where they can focus, where the opportunities, where do they stand vis-a-vis the market, and make their own individual plans without getting any information about individual orders or individual companies. So we want to facilitate commerce for everything, and then bring a data backbone to that, made available publicly as also as a service infrastructure that then businesses can use for their purposes.
Thanks. Sure.
I think Shri answered everything. I don't have anything more to add, right? Because we are a closed platform with similar goals, right? So I would say that. But for example, I can give an example specifically, right? For example, in Swiggy, we always say we have 3 customers. We have the driver, we have the restaurant, and we have the consumer, right? So when we do business analytics or we do any algorithm, etc., right? The one party which we always have to redo, go back, learn, unlearn, and then understand that, oh, we could have done this differently or not, more often than not, is the driver, right? And I think being one of the largest employers in the country, right, for this strata of population, fortunately or unfortunately, the people who are analyzing are not the people who understand what motivates them, not the people who understands what drives them, what do they look forward to, what are their aspirations, where they come from, right? We do a lot of market research. We have people who talk to them on ground every day and for everything we do. But yet, since you don't understand that, even when we try to do things for them, it may not be perceived the way we set out to, so on and so forth, right? So I think behavioral science, which comes specifically in this area, could be a very, very potential project to collaborate on, because we always have to redo some of this, whenever we set out.
No, I think it's a good thing, and the minute you're talking, I'm already thinking of a few things, and I'm sure Pranav is, because this is essentially the area that both Pranav and I work in.
And not to say that other areas are not
no,
there, but still, because you come from that strata, you can still think a little more openly, more accurately, analyze better, so on and so forth. Right?
I think,
and it's a more mature market in terms of analytics as well.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Swati, your thoughts?
Sure. So the opportunities. So I'll just give a quick background here. Like at my company, we've gone to 100 campuses this year to hire, and hired 1,200 plus folks from the campuses. So I have personally given the business oversight to that hiring. So I'm very passionate about how we can leverage the power of the academia for the industry. So a couple of things. One is that whenever the newer technologies come in, frankly, we are also learning them. So if we can collaborate, like be it Gen AI, be it quantum computing, if we can collaborate with the academia, then perhaps our approach will be more robust. Second is, what we've also seen is that while at internships the candidates come, but even like an opportunity that I feel is that for 3 months, if the folks, like especially in business analytics, are provided that kind of training or education, before they come to us, then they are ready to be deployed on billable projects from day one. Otherwise, it happens that for a year they are training. We've done it with select campuses where we've provided 3 months training for analytics, and then those students came out to be awesome, because that also makes the student know whether they want to venture that field or not. And this has been a very successful model for us, and that I see as a biggest opportunity, because then they are on the job from day one and they understand the requirements of the job. So this is something. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Karthik, I think you've touched some bits of it when you were talking earlier itself. Do you have anything more to add on what you had said earlier?
I'll tell what is our vision. I saw when I entered this conference, there was a year called 2047?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's anchor. That's too far away. It's like 25 years from now. But let's say even 5 years, I think it's humanly possible. We want to have a future in which our mom and pop kirana store owners can just speak and have an assistant to the system. मेरे एरिया में सेल नहीं चल रहा है, क्या करना चाहिए? और यू कैन से मैं यहाँ पे बहुत मराठी पॉपुलेशन यहाँ पे है, मेरे को कौन सा प्रोडक्ट स्टॉक करना चाहिए? And you should be able to fetch the answer, or that is still understanding the context, and you can definitely do that if you actually put together, the geolocation. Maps allows you to actually, even today you can go and get all the points within the next 500 meters of that store. You can understand what kind of activities happen. If you see probably a Gurudwara there, probably you can infer something about it, and data can do that. We can actually do predictions, we can actually give upfront, plus the human in the loop with the retailer who is reinforcing that. We want to go to that future where he is able to ask simple questions and we are able to provide a system. अभी palm oil stock करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए? Now retailer will not have an idea that oil prices in India are linked to Malaysian palm oil exchanges. We will have all the idea. So now we want to create that future. I would always start with that end in mind, because that will tell us where we want to go. If these are things that need to happen, obviously multiple things need to happen. We immediately think it's a very complex, and we start getting into the jargons like LLMs, AI, data science, analytics. First of all, I don't understand what is the difference between the analytics and data science. Like, these are all very structural, organizational points of view. Ultimately, from the customer point of view, he has a question, he needs an answer. Now, your organization defects ki somebody who can write code is data science and somebody who can only do Excel is analytics. That's like pure, I don't know, how to describe that. So from my perspective, I would not start from that. I would start from the other side. This is what my customer wants. Now I want to encourage anybody who is sitting in this room, outside this room, to come with proposals who can actually help happen, and I will be able to make use of any unit of work. If somebody can only do Excel analysis, I will dump it down, give him an Excel, I will get the work out. If somebody can integrate multiple sources of data and help in computing complex data, happy. But this is the end. We want our retailers to have a digital counterpart, a co-pilot in today's world, right? Who is the Kirana's co-pilot? And we want to build that. We have the data.
Thanks, Karthik. So actually, let me ask a more broader, well, not a broader question, but it's kind of evident that there are benefits, right? There is benefits from business analytics. A lot of what we've been talking about in earlier sessions have done that. There is benefit to industry academia collaboration. We talked about perspectives, we've talked about scale, we've talked about achieving objectives from multi stakeholders. But the reality is they are not very common, right? And your perspectives on why that doesn't happen, right? Because it's easy to say, oh, we should all do this. We should become better, we should be healthier, but there are clearly challenges in achieving that goal. And if you see the reality, there is not a lot going on, right? So in that regards, if any of you can pitch in and say, okay, look, here are the challenges we see and here is how we could go about tackling them, I think that would help move the conversation to saying, okay, look, let's action and work towards the goal or vision that we've had in mind. So Shirish, we'll start from you again.
So I think some of the opportunities are, so we have finite bandwidth and therefore we focus on the big things. I think therefore I see opportunities for the academia to help us go dive deep into things that are important, which we can't immediately address. And so just going back to our lunch conversations, we've done reasonably well with auto rickshaws in Bangalore. We are now comparable to the two major platforms in size. We have a good proposition. So when people take a ride, they pay the auto rickshaw directly, so they get their money instantly. The commission is a fraction of what they would pay on large platforms, so that should sound compelling. But yet 100% of Bangalore's auto rickshaw are not with us. So now why aren't they with us? We're doing well. Now somebody can go and examine that. Or there may be other difficulties. So we're focused on onboarding the undigitized makers and sellers, and we've got a fair bit of them. They've started driving demand, but there are others who are struggling. So what distinguishes those who are able to succeed on a network and those who aren't? And so looking at those questions, and the other is cross connection with other things. And if I may use your business as an example. So here's a food business. Food business has, as she said, multiple customers. It also has multiple components. So there is the food itself, there is the food ingredients, there is the packaging on which it gets delivered, there may be cutlery that goes with it. But that same packaging also touches other industries. So now, is there a packaging industry story of which one platform is part of it, other parts of it, and how do they intersect? So there could be cross-sector, cross-subject that somebody only outside that system will have interest and ability to do it, where an organization wouldn't have bandwidth. So I think some of those lenses, which is going deeper into important other subjects, doing the connections between others, to me are easy opportunities where we can't pay attention and where academia could really help.
Yeah, anything on the challenges? Like why, what do you think is stopping this from happening?
I think time and conversation. So you and Deepa reached out, so I think we'll have something going here. Similarly, a couple of professors in IIM Indore reached out to me. So they're not working directly with us, they're working with one of our network participants. We just connect to them and see if we can help. So I think it's just starting the conversation. Once you have a few success stories and you publish them, and that's again what your area is renowned for, then there will be other people who will stand up and take note of it. So it's to make a beginning, make success of it, and create a benchmark for others to look at as an inspiration.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to bookend now because I'm getting used to turning around like this. So Karthik, your thoughts on challenges?
It's a great question. I'll divide this answer into challenges. I'll come separate, but I'll first, before we go into let's identify the actors who are involved here, right? There are decision makers at the principal level. Let's say Professor Pranav and me are at the principal level interested. He has got his goal, I have got my goal. Then at the execution level, right, somebody will be working under him. He is obviously not going to do the full execution of the nuts and bolts, and there is a team under me who will be looking at certain business goals. The first starting point for me will be, because I have tried it in the past. I have tried it with Professor himself in the past before. It hasn't really worked and taken off, and when I reflected on it, this is what I got. And I went to Stanford business school, and there we have a class called Data and Decisions, and even every year they send these invites to us saying that, okay, this is the class, this is a set of students, and any research open. The challenge is that the interest or the core, I would say, why these individual constituents want to do at that specific point in time is not matching. Okay, so I am looking at a larger goal. I painted because as a CEO I need to be at the vision level. Right now he wants to know whether my kiranas have really had income improvement or not. Right, that's a great question to ask from a society perspective, but it's not immediately relevant to me. That's the first starting point. Right, we need to align. So somehow, let's say we align. Let's say I will give you an example in this case, that if he indeed in his research gets proven that we are improving incomes, now maybe that opens up new pools of capital from impact and economic development that is available across the world, that I can go. So therefore, somehow I have now aligned the interest here. Right, now let us look at the people under him and under me. Now the first set of challenges that I have seen is the students. Right, their job most of the time is to get a job. They want some good internship projects, and they want to have some names associated with them, and then they are looking at a very short 2-month, 3-month window to somehow put something in their resume. This is one challenge that I have seen, and my teams are working towards immediate business goals. So I have typically not found success wherein the research that is coming in from outside or the brain power that is coming from outside is towards something, hey look, this is something that we are anyways working on it, where we don't have bandwidth, can you take a look into it? That is the starting point of the failure for me. Because nobody in my organization is going to be interested anyways to give even 1 minute of time, because that is anyways already in my organization. Starting from me is a D priority. Okay. Now add that to the person who is under the professor who is coming and doing the research, who is looking at a 2-month window, usko ye resume mein ek line likhna hai, or he may want to get a better grade from the professor. Sorry. Some people are genuinely interested. They really want to do. I have also been for my own entrepreneurial, I have done that. So I understand the student conflict, and it is their reality. Now somehow if we match these realities and start with, this is fundamental and central to the organization, and here is where I want the help, then at least I am aligned, my teams are aligned. Then we can go to the student population to say, do you want to build a career in this field? And then maybe there is a chance of success, and whatever initiative that I would like to do with ISB, with Professor Pranav, I would like to try this approach, because the past didn't work. 3 years before we tried, it didn't work. And when I reflect, this is what I think has happened.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, so I think the challenge remains the same. I think everybody has alluded to that, and I was talking over the lunch that the industry does not have time, right? So a lot can be done with the academia and leverage the power of the academia for nation's growth. And as we are progressing towards being the 3rd largest economy and all, I am a firm believer that academia, if can play a much more significant role, but the time is not there. So what I felt was, like, one of the premier institutes of the country came to us to do a research report on analytics and the outcome of analytics. And then they said, okay, we'll do the research, but you talk to the people in the industry, and you will be talking to so we will be talking to the people in the industry, and we will be identifying those contacts 20, and then they'll put it in a report. So that put us off also, because we felt that we'll have to first identify the people, set up contacts with them. So much time. If it is that if the academia is coming and they are doing a research, maybe we give them the names and they contact, then it is at least time saving. So what I'm trying to say is that academia also has to jump up. Industry also has to feel the need that, okay, if they collaborate better, then in newer technology areas, it can be a great win-win. And academia also has to see that just beyond research, they have to move up the ladder so that it is more meaningful for the industry. So I think, but this is very, very important.
Okay, thanks. Before we move on to issue, Shirish has to leave for another thing. So thanks, Shirish, for being here. We really enjoyed it, and hopefully the audience enjoyed your
So it's hard to explain everything about ONDC in a panel which is actually on another subject. So a very easy way is team@ondc.org. If you want to know more, just get in touch and we'll be happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you. So, so before I open it to the audience's issue, your thoughts on the challenges that exist in.
So the top two in my head in this would be the domain understanding which needs to be provided by the industry to any researcher, right? Otherwise, the work would be irrelevant, or whatever the insights would come out would not be, you would know them already, right? So that deep understanding of the domain and the speed of delivery from the academia back to the business goals, as well as if they have their own goals, right? So on the impact which needs to get created through that project. These two are the biggest blockers. On the domain understanding, hence, if we are working with academia, and we do, in fact, Kick started this year, we have accepted interns, but we need minimum 6 months, because you cannot build domain in a month and then work on something where there is learning both ways, right? So we need a minimum of 6 months. and which is also where we will also have the time to give them enough inputs, right, in terms of what is needed to get a good delivery, right. And from a speed of execution, the business is so fast and in such an environment that we were discussing over lunch that anything more than a years of data is usually we are like, okay, that's like past. I mean, good to know, but it's not going to be relevant. So anything which get delivered after 6 months, 7 months sort of becomes mostly irrelevant for us, you know. We do want to work on some deep problems. Like I mentioned, I've already given a live example in terms of behavioral economics, which is long-term play, if I can say so. It's not, because still behaviors take a long time to change. They incubate and then become a system, etc. But yes, domain and speed.
Yeah, I think these are great points in terms of challenges, right? And this is something that Pranav and I regularly encounter when we talk to industry. Is one is the cost of the engagement. The other one is going back to what Swati said, like how much is the firm expending on their own end, time and opportunities, and of course speed of delivery, right? Like I think it's good that we can take a more relaxed approach. We see the big picture. But going back to ground realities for the business, they need to solve problems now and then and not wait for the 5 years that it takes for us to come back.